Hello there, Terry here, bringing you another episode of the Animation Industry Podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Sylvie Trouvé, who is a professional filmmaker and stop-motion animator who lives in Montreal, Canada. She's got more than 20 years experience in animation and has worked on a wide range of productions, from educational documentaries, feature films such as The Little Prince, and commercials for clients like Honda and Lego. In 2009, she was part of the National Film Board of Canada's Hothouse apprenticeship program, where she created the film Orange. And that's where she found her passion for photography and animation truly merged. So subsequently, she created the abstract film Reflection in 2012. And by the way, please go give that a watch. It is absolutely beautiful. Then in 2018, she finished up the animated short Bone Mother, which is a dark folkloric tale also produced by the National Film Board of Canada. And she's gained a lot of attention with her short films, which have screened at prestigious international film festivals and in public spaces such as galleries and airports. And on top of all this, in 2011, she co-founded Sea Creature Animation, which is a stop-motion only studio with her husband, Dale Hayward, who has also been on this podcast. And most recently, they created a new venture called Sea Learn in 2019, which is an educational platform specializing in teaching the principles of stop-motion animation. And I believe it's the first of its kind, and we're going to chat all about that in this chat. So let's jump right in. So hi, Sylvie. How are you today? Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. I talked to Dale, now I'm talking to you. It's cool. I'll talk to your kids next. I want to talk all about the online academy for stop motion that you're creating, because it's like a first in the world type of thing. Like, stop motion never really had a traditional learning source. But before we get into that, where did this all begin for you? How did you stumble into the beautiful world of stop motion?
Stumbling is a good word actually for this, because I really did stumble into it. It's not something I ever thought of doing or wanted to do. It kind of just, I ended up working at a company in Toronto called Cup of Coffee Animation that did stop motion, because my teacher from university told me to apply there. Oh, nice. And I started off just doing designs, collage stuff, and then it didn't take long. They were just threw me into like just trying out the stop motion stuff, and I really loved it. So
what were you taking in university?
I took photography. Okay. And then my last year, I took like extra classes, like media arts classes. So I had done like a book, and I had done like some slide type of video stuff, but nothing animation.
So your prof was just like, hey, I know this company, you should go work there. And then you did.
Yeah, I think that he might have even called them and told them to hire me.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah,
nice
I can't remember, but he did definitely give me a big push to go and work there. He already had a guy he had taught that was working there.
Maybe he got some commission for us.
Maybe. He was a super nice guy, and
well, that's great. So you're at Cup of Coffee doing collages, and then they just started asking you to animate? Were they like needing animators, or were you doing stuff on the side that they saw that they were interested in? Like, how do you go from working in one role at a company to a completely different role?
I think it was such a small company at that point. Like, there was only like 4 or 5 people there maybe. And, I just thought that it looked cool. Like, I was probably really excited to see things move, because I'd just been taking stills for the past 4 years, right? So they must have picked up on my inspiration.
Well, you were a Cup of Coffee in the early days. I was talking to Dave Thompson the other day, and he was remembering working with you.
Oh yeah, well, he was the first guy that I worked with. He was the animation director that I was working with, and he taught me a whole shitload of stuff. Yeah. But it was really fun. We worked like mad people. Like, it was insane, especially because I had such a huge learning curve of making this stuff. So we were getting to work at like 7 a.m, and then working till like 2:00 in the morning, and then going home, sleeping 2-3 hours, and coming back. And we did this all summer.
Why? Yeah. That sounds horrible.
It was a bit delirious, feeling, but we were having fun together. So it was, it was fine. Yeah, that's what it took. That was the transition you're talking about. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, I'm also wondering, like, you went from, I guess that was kind of your schooling, per se, just working so much on production. But why did you fall in love with stop motion specifically and then decide that this was what you wanted to do with the rest of your career?
Because I could see that it could really tell stories, and it was tactile, it was physical. I never probably I think that I'd always thought of maybe animation more as sitting down in front of a computer, and
Mm.
sitting down doesn't interest me. So stop motion seemed perfect, and I love music too, so it incorporates like, timing stuff out and being rhythmic, and it's like encompasses everything.
Right. Well, you were in photography before, and I guess you were still trying to tell stories through photographs. Is stop motion kind of like the next level of that for you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I still love photography and being able to um, talk to people through an image, but I think there's a lot more you can say with longer time, like more pictures.
Yeah, just 3,000 pictures of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Do you do other forms of animation as well, like 2D or 3D?
some After Effects
Yeah,
stuff. And a lot of the jobs we kind of combine the two,
fair enough. Yeah.
but I
So,
prefer doing stop motion.
so I did mention some of the highlights in your career in the intro, but what is, I guess, from your view, what has stop motion allowed you to do that was really exciting? Like, I know that the Little Prince, working on the Little Prince movie was pretty great, but from your perspective, what are those highlights for you?
Once we finished Bone Mother, that was a big highlight because we'd been working on it for so long,
Yeah.
and just being able to finally put the whole package together and show it to an audience and have a good feedback, that was like the best. Like it put everything, like
Yeah.
we forgot about all the heartaches that came along with making that film.
Was
Just
that the first, I guess, very large personal kind of project that you'd worked on?
I think that was like the first narrative.
Yeah.
I mean, the my other films, because they were abstract, there was like a loose concept behind them, but this was really like a first narrative where we had to write a script, and it was our own thing. So it was definitely, and it took a lot longer than any other project I had worked on.
Oh yeah, I remember following you on Instagram. That's kind of how I, you know, really came to know your work through Bone Mother.
Hmm.
Um, so that's really cool. Are you working on any other kind of narratives coming up?
Yeah, we have two other films that we're just writing the script for right now.
Two.
Yeah, we can't pick which one we like best. So I think we're gonna like apply for grants for both of them.
Oh, okay.
Actually, there's
Whichever one.
another one that I want to do like next week, but it's super, super short.
Oh, okay.
It's like so short that I think I can get it done in a week.
How common is it to get a grant to make a short film like this in stop motion?
Well, we'll find out because we haven't really applied for anything besides like the film board. In the film
Oh,
board, it was they came to us.
well, you
So
already had kind of a relationship with them before, right?
yeah, like we worked on like we did the stop motion for Cordell Barker's one of his films,
Mhm.
and we worked on other people's films there. We did the Hothouse program there, so we
Right.
already had it in. Like the Hothouse program is like really great for just getting your foot in the door and getting them to know you.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
So what other kind of grants are you talking about? Are these Canadian government grants?
yeah, I like Telefilm and Canada Council and SODEC and stuff like that.
Gotcha,
We'll
gotcha.
we'll
I,
take a
I
look at
think
all of them.
Montreal has more funding for that, if I'm correct. Is that
I
true?
think so. It
Yeah.
seems like it. I mean, I haven't really researched all of them right now, but from what I hear, it seems like Quebec has a lot of grants.
Cool. What are some of the tougher parts of your journey that people don't necessarily see? I know that you spent years working on Bone Mother. I know there are a lot of trials and tribulations in that, but
Mhm. I think that a big thing is like facing personal disappointment is a
oh no.
is a tough thing sometimes, because you're gonna go through some of it. Like you can't be happy with everything you do, which I usually am not happy with much of what I do, but still it's like having to just accept where you're at, you know? You always
Yeah.
want more, but it's just being able to face where you're at. And also there's a lot of financial stress when you're
For
working on a film for 4 years at the film board. Um,
Yeah.
That's a
Well,
challenge dealing with that, not just being an independent and not having a regular paycheck and just having faith that you're just going to figure it out and it's just going to, you're going to make it happen no matter what.
is there like something you rely on to keep that stability somewhat?
Um, in terms of like the
Or just,
financial stuff,
or just motivation?
oh,
Like,
motivation. The idea of sitting somewhere doing something I don't want for 8 hours a day, trying to envision myself doing that is a big
oh,
motivation.
oh my gosh. So you envision yourself in a job that you don't like, and that
Yeah.
gives you your motivation
It's
for
like, okay, I don't want to do that. So,
interesting. That
mhm.
sounds that doesn't sound like the best motivator, but it I'm glad that you brought up the thing about being okay with where you're at, because that's something that I kind of struggle with sometimes too. Because being in school and when I start a project and like knowing that I'm not the best at it yet, and knowing that I need to spend an enormous amount of time, but also having like this perfectionist mentality,
Mhm.
it's tough to deal with all of those things at once sometimes when I'm not happy with my work, and then I'm not really proud of it even though I did my best, and it's like
Mhm.
this like bad cycle, I guess.
Yeah, because then you feel like shit and you're like, oh, this is shit. Why am I doing this? I don't want to do this, And it's, you have to get over that and just be like, take,
Yeah.
look at the what is good about it and remind yourself about that, Like, I think perfection's kind of overrated and boring, anyways, in a lot of aspects.
Yeah. Well, then, like, the other thing that happens to me too is like I don't want to show anybody either. Like, I want to
Yeah.
just bury it and move on and hope that the next thing, works out better.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I like follow people on Instagram and they show like their rough sketches or their like journal work and stuff, like I love seeing that stuff, but I've never been able to get over that barrier for myself somehow.
Yeah. Because if you don't show it, though, it's like, how are you going to learn?
Yeah.
It's like these classes, right? Like we at one point we were like, oh, we'll just make videos and then people could just buy them for cheap and just use them whenever they feel like it and do whatever they want. And we talked about this a lot. And
Mm,
well, what are we trying to get out of this, right? What is our why for having this company?
right.
And when we thought about what the why was and this idea of building a stronger and close knit community and sharing our knowledge and stuff like that, it was like, well, and that without the interaction and that feedback and with the students, how are we going to make sure that they're learning stuff?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't working with the why we wanted to do it. You
Well,
know
I
what I
think that's
mean?
awesome. Yeah, yeah. Because I don't know. I think about that all the time too. It's like you could easily just make a simple video of how to do something and then just put it out there and be like, whatever, make a quick
Yeah.
buck off of it. But
Yeah, exactly.
to really take the time and like help people and build a community, like you're saying, like you need a really strong why to keep going and pushing for that. And so maybe this is a good time to start talking about the academy. So
Maybe.
yeah, maybe. So, can you give an overview of, in your own words, like what the academy is?
Well, it's an online school where we're
Okay.
teaching values and principles of animation through stop motion.
Hmm.
Right now, I mean, the school will grow and we'll have more classes with, about producing and editing and software and compositing and everything that comes with making stop motion films. I think stop motion is really great because it allows people at home. It's so accessible. It allows people at home that they can't draw, they can't use a computer program like Maya or whatever to make animation, but they can probably make sets and learn how to animate and do it and make a story at home. That
Hmm.
I think that is really great. Like
Yeah, that's exactly how I
giving
started out.
access, yeah, giving access to people to make stories, I think is really wonderful.
So, okay, so yeah, I think you had a really good point there because when I post something in like 2D animation, I get so many questions about like what software did you use, how much does it
Hmm.
cost, and it's like when I started animating, I had my grandfather's old camera and some plasticine and my desktop, and that was it.
Hmm.
So, what do
Yeah.
you need? What do you need to start taking courses in the academy, or just animating and stop motion in general?
Well, in the first lesson, we talk about all the setup and
Yeah.
just getting a camera, getting light. I mean, you could even just do it with your daylight if you want. Like the lessons and the assignments that we give out, they don't have to be perfect. There could be, flickering, but basically you need a camera you need a software. So we suggest Dragon Frame because we love Dragon Frame. I mean, there's other softwares people can have.
Hmm.
A lot of the students so far bought sticky bots.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So those are, most of them have that. There's one person that has like a wire puppet. Um, so having a puppet camera, some kind of source of lighting and a place to shoot.
Yeah. Do you need like wires and stuff like that too?
Wires.
Yeah.
Um, you
Like
we
rigs.
did get yeah. We suggested getting a spool of wire, and we have a bunch of links to different things that we send to them.
Nice.
A lot of the stuff you can buy on Amazon.
So
So
basically,
we help
class
people
one is
set up
gotcha.
as
Gotcha.
well, right? We don't get into like making puppets or making sets necessarily, because they don't need that for the classes.
Right. It's so like class one is just like what do you need to get prepared and your setup, and it's
Yeah,
like pretty basic stuff. And
yeah.
like
The first lesson is just setup and fundamentals. So
and
we talk
besides,
about
yeah,
spacing and rhythm, timing.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. And besides, like I guess the armature and the software, you people would have it. Like, can you film on your phone?
Yeah, yeah. If you want, you can film on your phone.
Okay.
We don't suggest that's the best thing. Like, it's better to just try and find a cheap camera online somewhere because the apps on the phone you often can't flip,
Ah,
and they're really limited in a lot of ways. So when it comes to trying to learn and understand your spacing and stuff like that, it's good to have a program where you can actually draw on it. You know what I mean? Or
gotcha.
yeah, control your
Gotcha.
frames.
So this is like for somebody who's never attempted stop motion before, they can kind of come to you guys and you'll give them the basics.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes some of our students are people that actually have no animation because they do Maya. They
Ah,
just never did stop motion. Some people have been working in the field. They just want to get better at stop motion.
hmm.
Um,
So
because,
oh,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, what does somebody learn start to finish? Like, they come in fresh, they go through the program. What is your learning goal for them by the end? Like, do you want them to get hired as a stop motion animator? Like, have those kind of skills, a portfolio? Do you want them to know like the basics for them to go off on their own and do their own thing? Like, what is the learning outcome? I guess.
Well, hopefully, it would make people better animators and
Hmm.
that they would understand what it entails to be a stop motion animator and to be an independent.
Oh, nice.
Um, so I mean, in terms of work, obviously, if we have opportunities to hire people or to get people hired, we would totally, we'd totally go for that and do that because that's the goal of just building a closer knit community, um, and having more talent out there accessible for people.
Gotcha.
Um,
So once they're done, they should have what it takes to like start working in stop motion, I guess.
yeah, I think they would feel pretty good at knowing all the principles and they would know how to do it. And
Are there like set courses? Like, do you go over like a bouncing ball and like a walk cycle and like lifting and jumping and stuff like that?
Yeah, the basic course has 8 lessons, the first one. And it's the first one, like I was saying, the setup and fundamentals. Then there's like frame rates and arcs and staging and posing and the ball and anticipation, action, reaction, the waving line, hitting hard. These are all some of the topics in the first 8 lessons. And then the
Yeah.
second level that we're going to do will have more walks and runs and character acting and uh, more, more subjects for people that are used to stop motion and just want to get even better.
Nice. I think this is really cool because, like I said before, there's never been any traditional way to learn stop motion other than like stumbling it into it yourself, or
Yeah,
just like being put on a job right away.
yeah, totally. There's nothing like almost everybody I know, they just learn on the job.
Yeah,
And
and
when you have
even
like we've been doing this for so long, it's like why not share all this knowledge and get people up
yeah,
to speed? And there's so much stop motion out there already, especially on social media. It's just
mhm,
insane how much is out there, and it's so popular. Like
yeah.
missing, with the Golden Globe and like so many shorts winning. It's pretty amazing.
Well, I think
Um,
yeah, I'm super happy about what's going on in the industry in stop motion right now. It's really exciting for me as especially because I'm interested in stop motion. Um,
mhm.
and I think with the social media thing, yeah, I see it all over social media. But I guess one thing that's lacking is understanding of the principles, which
Yeah.
I only started to understand myself once I started going to Sheridan College to actually study animation,
Mm-hmm.
versus like just having fun with creating little short stories and figuring stuff out by trial and error on my own. So I think having a resource like this is really cool, and like making it so accessible by having it online, it sounds great. So how do I'm just wondering, like, how do the classes actually work? You've mentioned their videos, but like what is your structure?
So we have the videos where we talk about the subject matter, and we talk about the mishaps and how to deal with them about that subject matter. We have examples. We create content example as well, like you could do this or you could do this, and you show a difference between a good wave and a bad wave, for example, and what do you need to do if you want your character to look like it's waving but naturally
Hmm.
versus uh,
Yeah.
a stiff loop of a hand or something like this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think seeing the before and after I really like. And we've been going through like some of our old content when we worked at Cup of Coffee in our early days of animation and studying that and seeing like, okay, so, this says something, but if we had done this, this would have been better.
Hmm.
This would improve that animation, or it would be more convincing as a character. Um, so it's really fun too to re-examine the work that you did. Uh, and
So
then there's assignments. So we talk about the assignments, and then there's and then the students record. They do the assignments, send them back to us, and then we do a video feedback
hmm.
that we send them.
Because I know a lot of online schools, I guess. Well, some of them offer feedback, but a lot of them are like do it your own pace. Here's some video content, like
Hmm.
learn it on your own time. But you're actually requesting that they animate and then send it back to you so you can give them feedback.
Yeah, I think that's the way to learn. Otherwise, you're just working in a tunnel, or a tunnel, something like that. Is
I
that
don't know.
expression? You're not really, um, and it's really hard too when you're doing stop motion to see what you're doing because you're enveloped in it.
Yeah.
To get another perspective is really helpful.
I can remember times where I've spent like hours and hours working on a shot. This is before I ever used Dragon Frame, and then upload it on the computer and be like, "This looks horrible."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, so how much time does somebody actually need to take to, complete the homework and stuff? Like, is it an hour a week? Is it like an hour a day? Like,
I
what
think
is
it's
the
like half a
commitment?
day. It seems like most of the students right now are taking about half a day. We're
Okay.
going to have a big talk with them soon because we're
Yeah.
midway through the beta classes right now. So we're going to find out even more precisely how long people are taking
Oh, nice.
and what their opinions are. So far, everybody seems really happy and finds the information concise, and our attitude in the video is good and encouraging um, because it's not easy showing your work to people.
Yeah. So you're
So
in beta, you're in like a beta test right now. So you have a bunch of students and you're like gathering feedback to
yeah,
improve the course and see how it goes. Cool.
yeah, like we already know we're gonna re-record the first one. We just want it to be the best class possible, and that people are really learning from it. That's why we want the feedback. It really um, answers the why. I don't know. Did I talk to you about this? Why?
I
We
mean,
didn't. Why we
yeah,
didn't just like send them out like videos, make videos, put them online, and do what you want with it.
well, yeah, you mentioned you want to like build a community and like
Yeah.
really, yeah. So, well, you can talk more to that. I know that I think Dale hinted at creating some kind of online community, global community for stop motion learning or something before. Is that true? I don't know.
Yeah, we want to do. We're actually looking to getting some grants to create that, which would be like a map, where we would have all the studios around the world listed, and then access for students to contact those studios or know where they are, and have the students' work available, like a
Yeah,
platform of
yeah.
like. We haven't figured it out completely, but I think some kind of map would be good. Contact map.
Yeah, for sure. The closest thing I've ever seen to that is on stopmotionanimation.com. There's like a list of stop motion studios,
Hmm.
but I think that's really outdated. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it in a while. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, something more interactive where
People can update their skills. People can update because you don't
Yeah.
want it to be like, oh, you did this class and 5 years ago and you said that you were a beginner, but now you've worked in the industry for 5 years. So it's keeping it active and the studio's active too, right?
Well, and just so helpful because I remember when I came out of high school, I had like, I don't know, I was 18. I had absolutely no idea where or what stop motion studios even existed where I could even talk to.
Yeah.
And I still feel like that's a little bit the case. Like I just found out last year that there's a stop motion studio up the road from me, just a bus ride away, and I didn't know that. And I've been living here for years, so
Wow.
there you go. But I think like a resource where, because
Yeah, you need it. You need it because plus there's a lot of people that aren't in cities as well, and they would have really no idea.
yeah, well, and I'm just thinking like on my Instagram, because I post stop motion there every once in a while, I get messages from people like in India and like all over the world that,
Hmm.
and I don't know what the situation is like there at all. So it would be
Yeah.
really cool to have this like big network, because I think stop motion, it's such a niche that unless you're already in it, like in Portland or something, it's
Hmm.
so hard to figure out how to get in it or even find other people who are in it as well.
Yeah, totally. And be able to connect with other people. Like if you need other people to work with you, right? A lot of this came from when we were working on Little Prince actually and having a really hard time to find animators.
Well, you didn't call me up.
No, we didn't. But see, maybe I don't know, maybe we didn't know of you then.
Well, I was
It
doing
was
something
like
else.
6, 7 years ago we did that. It was a while ago.
I was working in marketing then, so
Ah,
I
see?
would have said no anyways.
Oh, but yeah, it was.
Nowadays, though.
So now it's like getting to know more people, and it's fun because the classes too. They so far the students we have, like we have one person from Australia, we have one person from Spain, a couple people from the States. Like it's
Nice.
people from all over the place, which is really great.
So this vision of yours kind of goes beyond just the schooling aspect, I guess. School is just like one way, one part of it. It seems like.
Yeah, I think we just want to make it grow. We want it to have, ideally, I want to be able to change the world through stories to make
Yes.
it a better
Yes.
place. I want other people to have access to make this world a better place, to be able to engage and enlighten people. I think storytelling is so important. Stop motion is really accessible. It's really great.
Yeah.
Having more talent out there is going to make it more than just a fad,
Yeah, for sure.
and
So
taken more seriously. And I don't want it to be, oh, stop motion, the art form that's like got the charm,
right,
like
right.
that charm. I don't want it to be an excuse for bad animation. Like some people really do see it as just pushing things around. Like they don't understand that it needs some timing and some spacing between those frames. And you can make it a lot more than that.
Yeah, for sure. So what is your why are you using stop motion as the thing to change the world as for yourself?
Because I love stop motion. Because I want to make it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No,
and
that's great. I love that you
yeah,
said that. Do you have like a specific story in mind that you want to share with other people?
yeah. Those two stories, actually, well, the really really short one that I was telling you I want to do like in the next couple weeks, and then the other two stories that Dale and I have been working on is another one I think that could really help clarify people in terms of like some stuff. I don't want to get it too much into
No,
it.
no, you don't have to reveal it. That's
I think one of them is going to be pretty controversial,
oh,
uh, which will be interesting.
all right. I'm prepared to be outraged,
Yeah, outraged.
but I'll be following your. So the short one you're doing just on your own time, you're going to post that as soon as it's done, or are you going to submit it to film festivals and stuff like
The
that?
short one I'm doing is all on my own, so I'm going to put it online right away.
Oh, I can't
So
wait.
I don't even know if there's going to be much like actual animation in it. It's more like an idea,
Oh, okay.
more acute. It's a nice idea, but the other films too will do the same thing that we did with Bone Mother. We'll have an Instagram account and probably show stuff on TikTok now because
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of stuff
TikTok.
is happening on that.
Yeah,
But the online community is like it was invaluable when we were doing Bone Mother. It was just if it wasn't for that, I don't know if we would have finished the film. Like it was so inspiring and encouraging to get all that feedback.
Mhm.
and to see there was interest and people wanted this film to get done. This is another reason why doing the online classes is like an opportunity to share and to just give it back in a way too, you know?
Nice. Yeah. I think as you were saying that, I was thinking about how scared I used to be of going into stop motion as a thing. And what you just said, like all the like support that exists within this community, it's amazing. Like people want you to succeed if
Mm-hmm.
you're serious about it. And I think that's super great because like if I had known that years ago, maybe I would have changed my career path a little bit back
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
then.
it's true that stop motion does have a scary thing because even like the
Yeah.
people that I know that want to do it, that they're CG animators are like, oh, I could never do stop motion. And you're like, but you could. Like,
Yeah.
I guess there is that, what do you call that when you're like afraid to go on stage?
Uh,
Like,
fear? Nerd?
stage fright, right? Sometimes
Right?
there's stage fright.
Yeah.
Like when I was animation directing at Cup of Coffee, I had one animator that had stage fright. Like it took him like a couple hours to just get into his shot.
Huh.
Yeah,
Because he was scared of not performing well.
I guess. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
Well,
So it was
is
like
there like a do you find that's the case with your students right now? Is there like an overarching like I'm not good enough or a fear of performing in stop motion?
not so far. I mean, I haven't talked to them personally yet, which we intend to do. But so far, everybody's just been handing in the assignments like every week. Um, so
Nice.
yeah, it's great. It's
So
really
I sent oh sorry.
okay.
I was gonna jump into the little experiment I did with you.
Oh yeah.
So, if you're listening, I sent Sylvie a little animation that I did of a mouse jumping up and down. It's actually posted on my Instagram now, so you can go and look at it. And so she actually helped me out with figuring out the timing and the arcs of it, which was great. So I thought maybe we could just kind of run through the feedback you gave me here. So I guess I'll set you up. So I created a little mouse with two ears out of styrofoam balls. And it's just a simple jump up and down cycle. It's like a looping animation. He jumps up and down, and then when he hits the ground, his leg comes out in a little cute pose. And then I didn't know how to, have him jump up again. I had his leg fall into an arc, and it was kind of awkward. So, well, what was the feedback you gave me? I don't know how well this is
Well,
going
I
to
think
work over
at first,
without video.
I think you showed me. Well, they'll be able to see it on Instagram, but
Yeah,
they won't see the video. That the first video you sent me. This is before
yeah.
you fixed it. I looked at it and I was like, oh my god, it's so cute. I really love the bouncing of the hair, the balls on the head,
Yeah.
so much that I actually didn't pay attention to that move that you were worried about at the end, where his leg comes out. So I was
Ah,
like, oh, this is great. I love it. And then you're like, yeah. And then I was like, okay, so what don't you like about it? And then you were talking about the slag move. And then when I looked at that, I was like, yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
right.
awkward.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. This is not uh once I yeah, you because I think you were trying hard to make this action work within it.
Yeah.
So it was hard for you to let go of it. And I think actually a lot of people do this when they're animating is they'll do their frames, but they don't really think about taking frames out or retiming it after they shot it.
Well, each frame takes so long. It's so precious. And
Yeah,
you're like, I
yeah,
worked on it, so I got to put it
totally.
in.
Yeah, totally. And that's why people don't do it because they know that they've spent that time on it, and so they're. But now with Dragon or other software programs, in stop motion, you can hide those frames and see how it feels. And if you can walk away and come back and look at it again without those frames, then you can see how they work. Because the frames of his leg coming out,
Mhm.
it didn't work with the bounce.
Yeah, it like
Like
paused the
it
bounce in a weird.
paused the bounce, and it was a strange pose. Like
Hmm.
you weren't sure what the pose was.
Okay.
When you looked at it, it just looked like his leg went out. So I think I just told you to take out some frames. So you took out some frames, and you came back to me, but you still kept the leg in.
Yeah,
So then
I
I
wanted
said,
to keep
and
it.
then I said, I told you to take out some more frames and forget about the leg. And it loops really nicely now, and it's got, the parts that were so exciting at the beginning are there all the way through.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and your feedback was really, really helpful. I'm glad we did that experiment because it made my animation better.
Yeah, no, it was great. Sometimes that's why the feedback in the classes is so important. You just need feedback no matter where you are in your career. Feedback is like, because you'll always need it for the rest of your life, I think.
Oh, for sure. And the one thing that's about stop motion that I think is like exaggerated versus other forms of animation, because in 2D and 3D you're often working with a team. Stop motion, you're doing it by yourself
Hmm.
for
Yeah.
hours and hours and hours, and it's so hard to go back and fix something. So I never ever had feedback until, like, when I was doing stop motion on my own for years until very recently. uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, I think getting that feedback is super valuable, and killing your darlings, like little leg moves, is super. I actually made that jumping mouse into a GIF, and it has over like 1 million views now on Giphy.
Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome.
It works so much better as like a just the jumping loop that you were like pushing me to do, because like especially on Instagram, it's so small to see that you can't even appreciate all the little like hair moves of the puppet and stuff like that. So you just see this overarching movement, I guess.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's
and
true. It's important to think about your audience. Like,
yeah,
where are you going to post that stuff?
I remember even besides the leg, you told me to, I think it was either extend or remove frames in the when he's down because the weight felt a little off. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it
So,
was it was soft, a little bit
yeah.
soft.
So
Yeah.
what are some of the things that when you look at a piece are you analyzing? So like weight, I guess, is one of them. Like overall movement or arcs is another one. What are the other things that you're looking for?
Yeah, I look at all that stuff. all the animation principles, and it depends on what the purpose of it is as well. Like for the student work, like we're not going to start commenting too much on the character animation if it's like one of the first exercises, and we're just figuring out timing of things.
Yeah,
You know what
right.
I mean? Like,
Yeah, your
I don't
character
want to
sucks, but
overwhelm
your
people.
timing's great.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Now take the next class.
Yeah.
Are
No.
there specific things in stop motion versus other forms of animation that you look for?
Um. Well, for if I think about like the people that are coming from like Maya and stuff like that,
Hmm.
they're in between. Everything is timed out already in the computer, so um,
Uh,
it's different for them when they have to think about all those, you know, their spacing and their timing and their arcs in stop motion because they're doing it themselves and it's every single frame. So you have a lot more option to have that kind of chatter
yeah.
that they wouldn't normally get.
So I always animated straight ahead without ever planning out my shots until Dale told me that I should probably plan out my shots and see where the puppet hits and just pose them
Yeah.
before I start animating. Is that like a industry thing? Is that what you teach them to do as well?
Yeah, yeah, that's one of the. We've only done 4 classes already, and the
Mm.
pop throughs or rehearsals is something we've already talked to them about. In the last, because the classes also have like one of the principles, and with that principle, there's more a technical side.
Gotcha.
So talking about rigs or talking about setting up your dragon project, your project properly, your naming convention, all that kind of stuff. So the technical part to that one lesson was rehearsals and pop throughs
Hmm.
and why it's important to do that and how that will just help you figure things out.
So you have, like you mentioned, waving before. So in like frame one, their arm is tilted to the left side, and then by frame 10 you want it tilted to the right side. How do you plan out the in betweens? Because in like Maya, the software does it for you, or like in 2D, you can tween it or time it in drawings. But in real life, how do you figure out how many frames are in between? Like, what if you hit frame 8 and you're already on the right side? you can't really go back. I guess you could, but you have to redo the whole thing.
Yeah, you could take out some frames. I mean, the rehearsal or pop through can be really rough,
Hmm.
right? It's just to figure out overall timing. So you would put your character in your main poses, or sometimes I'll go through it, shooting it on twos, and I'll go through every frame. I just won't do the secondary action, or I won't finesse the animation, like put it in the exact right spot for the fingers, for example, or things like that. But I'll know that I want my wave to happen, quickly in 1 second, or do I want to have a pause in there somewhere,
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes
or we'll talk about that wave and be like, don't wave it back and forth uh, the same wave 3 times. Put
right.
something, a little pause here or there, just to alternate it and not have it so stiff. And it was also in that one wave video that we did. We were talking about the how you wouldn't start lifting your puppet's hand first to go and wave it. You would start like you would normally start with, like, your shoulder and your larger body parts, right? Like your shoulder and your elbow, and you bring up your fingers, like delay and come up, so it feels more natural.
Hmm. How
And
do you
we encourage people a lot to look at themselves in the mirror and do it,
or
because
film
once you
reference
or film
video?
themselves, yeah, like if you feel it out and you look at yourself, you understand what your puppet's supposed to do a lot better.
Hmm. I remember being in the studio over the summer, just like I'm glad I was by myself, just doing ridiculous arm movements to figure out the timing.
It's great. I actually started taking improv just recently,
Oh, no
and
way.
yeah, I just love it. Like sometimes I'll like leave that class and I'm frustrated with myself because I jammed up on stage or something like this, but then I just can't wait to go to the next class.
Nice.
Because I like spend all week thinking, oh, what could I have done? I could have done this, or I could have done that, or and it's really great for posing and understanding movement, and it's just
I've,
liberating.
I've heard that's really helpful. I think maybe at some point I will get out to do some improv too. I,
It's really great especially for animation and stop motion, I think.
yeah. I also had a question how you handle the secondary action. Do you have like how do you keep track of all the things going on when you have to move like 10 different things in one frame?
It's funny, that was in one of the lessons too.
Oh yeah.
Good questions, Terry.
Hey.
uh, we create a rhythm, or that you're always, think of it in term, either you go in like a circular fashion or something like this, but always animate the same things one after the other,
Hmm.
so you don't forget anything. So
Okay.
you know that you're doing, your left arm, your head, your right shoulder, this, and then you're going to move your background if you're moving your background or whatever, So it's a system, so that I think that's actually why stop motion can become very meditative.
Hmm. Well, I mean, for
You
me,
have
I
this
just
routine.
forget to eat and sleep and go to the bathroom, and 10 hours later, I realize my body is in a state of, of like,
Just because you love it, you're just forgetting everything else.
yeah,
It's
I'm like
true.
meditating and like in another world.
Oh my god! But it's true, eh? It's
Uh,
totally meditative.
there's nothing else like it that I've found for myself that puts me in that weird mental space. It's so
Yeah,
strange.
it's a flow. There's like
Yeah,
although sometimes that flow is not happening, and that can be very frustrating.
yeah, because
Where
it's
you're like,
also
oh,
very
it's working. Yeah, you're animating. It's like, oh, it's great. This is great. This is great. Oh shoot, what? And you're like, it just won't move in that way.
yeah.
No, frustrated. That's the bathroom break time.
Yeah, right. Then your body reminds you that you've been like slowly killing it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's important to take breaks. It's true. You can get carried away, and the whole day can go by, and you're just yeah.
So you're focusing on the stop motion principles. Are you thinking of expanding into other subjects or courses and things? I know you mentioned the post production stuff too.
Yeah, Dale can't wait to do a video on compositing, actually,
Ah,
because it's so integral to what we do. Like it's always like shooting and compositing at the same time, and knowing that you have that to
right.
help you out. It would be really hard to do stop motion if you didn't know a little bit of compositing.
Do you
Uh,
actually animate in a way that is set up for compositing later?
Sometimes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
Sometimes,
what would
like
that be?
Um, well, it depends. Like you would figure out whether you have to use like a green screen,
Hmm.
or you might not animate a certain thing if it's easier to do it in post somehow. I'm trying to think of an example.
The fire maybe from Bone Mother?
Yeah, the fire. We were dead set on the idea that we did not want it to look like stop motion because we wanted it to feel real and to feel hot.
Hmm.
And we had done fire in another for another project on Cordell Barker's film, and it was like replaceable pieces of gels, and
Right.
it looked great, but it fit the project. But we knew that that would not fit Bone Mother, so the compositing was good to have real fire for that.
Makes sense.
Some people like to be just, oh, it has to be all in stop motion, but uh,
No.
yeah, some people think that. I don't think that. I think you do what suits the project.
That makes sense, yeah. Or
Yeah.
what the vision, yeah. And you want it to be really hot, and that's hard to achieve with replacement things in stop motion.
Yeah, you can't, it had to be mean. It had to be terrible thing.
Yeah, yeah, fair.
So
So I'm still interested in this course a little bit. So I know if we've mentioned Dale a bunch. Is it just you two producing this course?
right now, yeah. Eventually we'll get either teachers that are have their own specialty.
Hmm.
I think it would be really great to learn more, about grants, about producing, about editing, about um, all those subjects that we need to know about. You tend
Yeah,
to do a lot of stuff. I mean, probably eventually we'll talk about making your own puppet and sets like that. But right now, we're really just focusing on the animation because that's our specialty.
yeah. So
So,
eventually, C Learn Academy is going to be the premier place for learning stop motion in the world, I guess.
yeah, for filmmaking, yes, I like this. In the world, world domination.
One frame at a time.
Yeah, one frame at a time. Yeah, I think it's just about making films.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's awesome. I think this is a really good time for you to do this as well with like the whole social media thing and like more resources becoming available and readily available for people.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you call it Sea Learn though?
Sea Learn is an extension of Sea Creature,
Why
which
did you call it Sea Creature?
Sea Creature, because I like the play on word with the sea,
Yeah.
seeing stuff, and the creature being like creating. So it kind
Ah,
of just became Sea Creature. And then Sea Learn, you see and then you learn.
that's why I thought it was Sea Learn because it's like you see it and learn because
Yeah,
visual. Yeah.
it made sense. Yeah, but I guess it just we already had Sea Creature, so we thought Sea Learn would be great, would be good.
Nice. So when is the actual course set to launch?
The beta classes are going to end in another month or so, and then we're going to revise all the material,
Okay.
and then we're hoping to launch again for April.
So how long does the program last for somebody once they go through it? Do you envision?
Well, there's 8 classes, so if the person was to do it like full time, they could probably get. I mean, if they did like some of the assignments are longer than others, like they're getting more and more complex as you
Hmm.
go with all the lessons. Um, I would imagine they could get it done in a month if they
Oh,
were just gung ho on it. This beta one is going on for 2 months because people tend to do an assignment a week.
oh, that's fair.
Yeah, so it depends on how much people want to put into it as well. You know,
Fair.
some
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
working at the same time, so they can't just take a month off. But that's why we were thinking maybe launching in the summer as well, because then people might have more time in the summer.
That's fair. Yeah. Plus, it'll be better to be indoors in the summer.
Yeah, for some people. Yeah, for some people that are afraid of that heat.
I like to be outside personally.
So do I. But you know,
Yeah. Well, this is really exciting, and it's coming up so soon. I'm really glad we got to chat all about it. Is there? I was going to ask you what's next for you, but you've got 3 short films coming up and a full Academy launch. So it sounds like you're going to be pretty busy for the next little while.
yeah, it's busy, 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 but fun busy.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Uh, I guess just in the Sea Learn name, there's a dash.
Yeah.
So if you just look up C-Learn altogether, you get a bunch of other stuff. Actually, the person that owns that domain name is not doing anything with it, which
Oh
is
no.
reach out to that person
Yeah.
because the dash between the C and the learn is kind of annoying. But
Gosh.
uh,
Somebody beat you to it and is doing nothing with it. It sucks.
I know he just bought it because he knew it was a cool name.
Yeah. Oh
It
no.
just fits, it fits. The name fits. It's like I love that when like things just come together and you're just like, oh, this totally makes sense. Like I can envision this. This just works.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
like it a lot. And it like it's very memorable as well. Like some people
Yeah.
ask me about it and I'm like, what was that called? Oh right, Sea Learn. So yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I think it really fits well.
Cool. Was there anything else you'd like to share on top of the I was gonna mention the dash anyways.
um, just not to be afraid of stop motion. And if, making mistakes is part of growing. If you're not making mistakes, you're not learning anything. So,
Yeah.
just do it and be inspired and show people and not worry about it,
Totally agree. Totally agree. Even though
Yeah.
mistakes suck.
Oh yeah. I think it's so important to acknowledge your mistakes and just go with it and just keep moving. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on and sharing everything about your experience and giving me that feedback on the mouse jump and Sea Learn Academy.
Yeah,
It's been
thanks for
really nice
having
to
me.
chat.
Yeah, this is fun. Very inspiring.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Sylvie. And if you're
Thanks.
listening and you're interested in Sea Learn, you can find more info about it on their website, which she mentioned was c-learn.com. Or you can follow them on Instagram, which is instagram.com or c_learn_academy. Or you can get in touch with Sylvie by emailing her at hello@c-learn.com. And I'll include all of those links in the description of this podcast. So don't worry if that was too quick for you. And that's all for now. Thank you so much for listening. Okay, bye.